It's the amazing Rico Brogna podcast with your host, Evan Roberts.
Welcome to Rico Brogna, the We Are on the Verge of Extinction edition of Rico Brogna. The New York Mets get absolutely pounded yet again by the Los Angeles Dodgers, and now we're on the brink. We're on the brink of elimination. We're on the brink of this season ending. We're on the brink of OMG just becoming an obnoxious song that we never really liked. That's what we're on the verge of experiencing. I do welcome you into a live edition of Rico if you're hanging out with us at 1 o'clock in the morning. If you've downloaded the podcast, we appreciate that. You can download the Rico Brogna wherever you subscribe to your podcasts. This game, game 4 of the NLCS at Citi Field, tell me when I'm wrong, was the same freaking game as game 3 of the NLCS at Citi Field. It was the same crap. The same exact crap. The Dodgers score early and take a lead. Now, in game 4, unlike game 3, the Mets initially showed a little fight. Shohei Ohtani gives you the Derek Jeter versus Bobby Jones moment by hitting that leadoff home run, and Mark Vientos responded. But then, and this was the common theme, and really is our death sentence if we don't pull off some miracle comeback, they can't stop the Dodger offense. Can't stop them. And it's not like this offense can keep up with it because this offense fails with opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. But honestly, it was the same game. Dodgers take an early lead. The Mets put together these rallies, these little itsy-bitsy cock teasers of rallies. They never break through. And then eventually the Dodger bats just wear you down. There's a lot to digest from this game. There's a lot of first guessing and second guessing that we can go through. But overall, the LA Dodgers are the far superior team through 4 games. And I'm very careful to say that. They are the far superior team through 4 games. They kicked our ass in game 1. They kicked our ass in game 3. They just kicked our ass in game 4. That doesn't mean they're going to be the far superior team in game 5, 6, and 7. I'll tell you this right now. If you tune into the Rico hoping I was going to throw the red flag out or the white flag, whatever the stupid flag is that you give up on, I don't give up. I'm not confident. I'm not hopeful. I've got a million reasons why this season's going to end on a Friday early evening at Citi Field. But I've seen enough crazy baseball to know that things can turn on a dime. With that said, the Mets can't stop this offense. They can't stop Shohei Ohtani because once he hit that home run in the first inning, basically the game plan was we're not going to let him beat him again, so we're not going to give him anything to hit. And that's why you saw Quintana pitch around him in the third inning clearly, go after him a little bit more in the fourth inning, but still not want to make a mistake. And the same thing we saw in the 6th inning when I think that was Jose Budo who faced him and pitched around him. So they can't get Shohei Ohtani out, nor do they want to go after him. Mookie Betts reminded everybody who the hell he is with 4 hits in this game, including 2 back-breaking big RBIs, the 2-run double in the 4th inning that really broke the game open, and then the 2-run home run in the 6th inning that just kind of pissed on our face. Max Muncy gets on base all the time. I'm sure they announced this on the TV, but when Max Muncy walked for the 3rd straight time, I went through that scorecard of mine, and I said, how many freaking times has this guy gotten on base in a row? 11 times in a row. I think at the time when I looked, it was 10 times in a row, but he ends up getting to 11 times in a row. They can't get his ass out. Kiki Hernandez, who hit the 2-run home run in game 3, gets a huge infield hit in the 3rd inning of game 4. They can't get him out. This isn't a surprise. The Dodgers are really, really good. I think we kind of know they're really, really good. But every inning, the Mets can't put together a 1-2-3 inning, and they just can't hold them down. And the only way over the last 2 days they were going to be able to compete with this high-octane offense was to hit. And how many opportunities are we going to see this offense blow? You saw it in the third inning when they had the bases loaded and one out, and they were fortunate they got a run across because Brandon Nimmo appeared to bounce into a double play. Luckily, after challenge, he was safe, but they only get one run out of bases loaded, one out. And the real killer was that sixth inning, because in that sixth inning, with the Mets still down 7-2, because the Dodgers had just broken the game open when Mookie Betts hit that 2-run home run. So you're out of it, but you got bases loaded, nobody out. And with bases loaded, nobody out, you're thinking, all right, 7-2, get 2 or 3 runs in. This is a game. Let's make the Dodgers sweat, because the Mets have not been able to make the Dodgers sweat in the 3 losses. And you have bases loaded, nobody out. Jose Iglesias strikes out. They go to Jeff McNeil as a pinch hitter. He hits that typical Jeff McNeil wussy fly ball to center field. And then finally, this manager, who I don't know why he hates Jesse Winker or why he doesn't trust Jesse Winker, finally goes to Jesse Winker with the bases loaded, and he comes close, but no cigar, to a grand slam, hitting one of the warning track. Very, very frustrating sixth inning. And I think at that point, I mean, you probably knew the game was over 3 innings earlier. But at that point, you're looking around, if you're at Citi Field, saying, are you freaking kidding me with this team? How many times can they get a bunch of guys on base and do nothing with it? That was the story of Game 3, and that was the story of Game 4. There are so many things to wonder about. Let's go to Jose Quintana. Jose Quintana was not good in this game. He had pitched very well in September. He had pitched very well in the postseason. So I don't take anything away from the way Quintana was pitching over the last month. But this was early season Quintana. He was nibbling. He was afraid to attack. He couldn't put guys away. It was every bad thing we saw from Jose Quintana from April until August. We saw this in Game 4. He gives up the leadoff home run to Ohtani. I had this fear. Did I say this on the Rico a few days ago? Or I may have said it on the air on WFAN. I've had this Ohtani Jeter fear that he's going to start a game off, with the light bulbs flashing and him hitting a home run. And I described that fear recently, and I was almost to a T living that nightmare we all were in Game 4. It wasn't the first pitch of the game. We don't have those light bulbs. Excuse me. By the way, my voice is I'm in pain talking. I don't know if it's screaming at the game, because I really wasn't screaming at the game, if it's just the weather kicking my ass, or the fact that we're all run down. Now, poor Pete Hoffman is run down. I'm surprised we're even doing this podcast right now. I even tweeted out about an hour ago, poor Pete Hoffman fell asleep. So we're not going to have a live Rico. I'll record a Rico. I'll send it to him. And poor Pete Hoffman's run down. He passed out in the middle of a playoff game and slept for like 4 hours.
Oh, whoa. Not 4 hours. Yeah. No, I feel like crap. But I didn't fall asleep for 4 hours. The game was basically out of hand by the time I passed out. I believe I was done in the 8th inning. At that point in time, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, you should have left in the 7th. It's your fault.
By the way, I got a few things about leaving early. Let me just check my records here. I texted you. All right, fair enough. I texted you at about 11 o'clock. So I would say you slept for 2 hours. That would be my estimate.
I feel refreshed.
Well, I'm glad. Look, we're all run down. I mean, I'm freaking run down. I feel like horse crap right now. But we're committed.
That's right.
Well, we should be committed. And I'll tell you another reason why I should be committed. You said I should have left early. So I went to this Game 4 tonight, or last night, depending on when you're listening, with Jet, my 8-year-old son, with my dad, and with my father-in-law. Okay? We go to this game. Jet's into it. He's scoring the game. Life is good other than the results, because the Mets, have been sucking recently. And at about 11 o'clock, right when I was texting Pete, with the Mets down in this game, I think at the time it was 7-2 in the top of the 7th inning. I looked into Jet's eyes, and they are shaky. They are shaky. He's 8. It's 11 o'clock at night. These effing baseball games never end. And all of a sudden, like a tower, like he's sitting there very firm. He's very firm. And then all of a sudden, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, he just collapsed right into my arms. And so the last 2 innings of this game, boy, I wish someone got this on video. I'm holding my son who's sleeping, and on top of him, I got my scorecard, and I'm still finding a way to get through the game.
That's called being a professional. You're a freaking professional.
And there was a thought of, what are we doing? Okay, especially when the Dodgers scored the 3 runs in the 8th inning. What are we doing? Can we just leave? And I'm like, I can't leave. It's a freaking playoff game. What if they rally? What if down 10-2 in the 9th inning, they put 7 runs together? And I said, because I ran into Positive Tommy, who stayed till the very end, or at least mostly, and he saw Jet sleeping, and he's like, what are you going to do? I said, if the Mets get the tying run to the plate, I'll wake his ass up. Spoiler alert, they did not get the tying run to the plate, and I just literally woke him up and said, let's go home. So he made it through a full playoff game, even if he was sleeping for the last 45 minutes, which, by the way, we all could have done. Look, I think that's the other thing that's very depressing right now. If you dropped a lot of money to go to a postseason game, you have gotten absolutely fleeced over the last 2 nights. Fleeced. These have been non-competitive messes. And look, I've been harping on the offense. Here's the reality. The reality is the Mets have been inferior to the Dodgers in every way known to man. They have been inferior defensively. They have been inferior starting pitching-wise, because even though they're not getting a lot of depth out of their starter, Yoshinobu Yamamoto was fine. He was better than Jose Quintana. Jack Flaherty, going back to game 1, was more than fine. Walker Buehler, again, it's only 4 innings. He was fine. So the starting pitching's been better for LA. Their bullpen is far better. Their ability to get the big out when the Mets are putting the rally together has been better. And don't get me started about the Dodger offense. I mean, obviously, the Dodger offense has been insane. Mookie Betts reminded you who he was today. Max Muncy got on base 11 straight times. Ohtani's put the fear of God in everybody. Tommy Edman's a pain in the ass. Kiki Hernandez is a pain in the ass. And it's one of those moments, and trust me, I feel this way. I think a lot of Met fans feel this way. I think a lot of IBOs, independent baseball observers, would feel this way. You sit there at the end of game 4, you look and you say, they're just better. The Dodgers are just better. They're better offensively. They're better. They got a better bullpen, which they do. They're just better. And you almost want to shrug your shoulders and say, well, what are you going to do? They're just a better team. And I'm not arguing that. I mean, they have played like a better team, and we know about what the Dodger track record has been. But in a short series, and this is where I hold out hope, being the naive bastard that I am, you hold out hope that it can change on a dime. That there can be a game in which the Mets actually play a complete game. They haven't done that in a while, where they actually get a solid starting pitching performance, where when they do load the bases with nobody out, they go get a big hit. So I will go in a game 5 with that childish hope that maybe they're going to stun us one last time. And this would be a stunner. This would be the ultimate of stuns. This would be a far bigger stunner than Pete Alonso taking Devin Williams deep. This would be a bigger stunner than even the comeback against Atlanta in game 161. They are getting their asses whooped by a better baseball team by a lot. So can they get off the mat and all of a sudden out of nowhere win 3 straight games? Probably not. But you hold out hope. Now let me get to this freaking manager. So I got a lot of first guesses from this game. I got a lot of them. Let me start with the starting lineup. While I understand that Yoshinobu Yamamoto has reverse splits and he's been much tougher on lefties than righties, how do you force feed JD Martinez in the lineup again? How do you do that, Mendy? How and why? What did Jesse Winker do to you to where you don't want him in the starting lineup? 2 straight games now, Jesse Winker is not in the starting lineup. Why? Explain that one to me. When Jesse Winker started game 2, the one game the Mets have won in this series, he got on base 3 times. He drew 2 walks and got a base hit. In game 1, when the Mets had 3 hits the entire game, Jesse Winker had 1 of them. We know what he did in the Philadelphia series. We know what he did in the wild card series. Like, I don't understand what more Jesse Winker needs to do for Carlos Mendoza to put him in the lineup against a right-handed starting pitcher 2 straight games. JD Martinez, and I appreciate everything he's done in the locker room and the kind of leader he is. And look, can he still draw a walk like he showed in the 6th and 8th inning? Yes, he can. But Jesse Winker needs to play over JD Martinez. What the F are we doing? If it wasn't obvious in game 3, how is it not obvious in game 4? And then the other thing is, and this is part of why I hate JD Martinez starting, is Mendy never pinch hits for him. He'll pinch hit for Jesse Winker. He'll pinch hit for Tyrone Taylor. He'll pinch hit for those guys. He will not pinch hit for JD Martinez. So when JD comes, and I'll tell you the exact situation, even though he drew a walk, in the 6th inning, when there's 2-1 and nobody out, and Evan Phillips is on the mound at the time, I'm looking over to my dad. I'm like, why is Jet? Well, I guess I wasn't sitting next to my dad. He was 2 sections over. I looked over at Jet, and I'm like, why the hell? I didn't say this out loud. It was more of a thought, because the truth was I wasn't saying to Jet, why aren't we pinch hitting? But I was saying it in my freaking head. Why are you not pinch hitting for this guy? And it sort of worked. JD had a good at-bat. He drew a walk. I get it. And then it was the guys after that couldn't come through. But that one pissed me off to no end. Jeff McNeil. I get why you go to him to pinch hit for Bader, who struck out twice against Yamamoto. So the idea that he was going to build off what he did in April against Yamamoto, yeah, that flew out the window quickly as he looked like crap against him twice. But you go to Jeff McNeil. At that point, I would have gone to Winker. He ends up going to Winker 1 batter later to pinch hit for Francisco Alvarez. And I'll get killed for saying this, because I know that Francisco Alvarez is like the guy that Met fans wanted to crush over the last 24 hours. Francisco Alvarez gets a leadoff hit in the 3rd inning. He starts the rally where the Mets only scored the 1 run. They were losing 3-1. They put together 2 on, nobody out. Starts the rally with a base hit. He got hit by a pitch in the 5th inning, started what could have been a rally in the 5th inning. Of course, it went nowhere. Honestly, in that 6th inning, as I saw the Mets loading the bases up, I didn't want to pinch hit for Alvarez. I didn't. I looked at those first 2 at-bats, specifically the first one, and thought, well, maybe he's getting hot. Maybe he can build off this. Maybe his confidence is back. Met fans did a good job. They gave him a big standing ovation. I was not in a rush to pinch hit for Francisco Alvarez. What I would have done, pinch hit Bader, yes, but do it with Jesse Winker. Not with Jeff McNeil, who hasn't had a base hit in a month. I didn't like that one. I didn't like that one at all. Jose Quintana. I thought he stuck with Jose Quintana way too long. Jose Quintana did not have it. He was nibbling all game. In that 3rd inning, and this is where Jet was first guessing. Jet was like, why is he still in the game? Take him out. Take him out. Take him out. I thought Mendy was lucky as hell that Quintana got Will Smith to pop up to end the 3rd inning after he had already given up 2 runs. And then you let him start the 4th inning? Why? Why? He doesn't have it. If you're going to go to the bullpen and you're going to go to Jose Budo, who they went to, or you're going to go to anybody, give him a clean inning. And you saw what happened. Quintana was basically nibbling against Chris Taylor with Ohtani on deck. Gives up the infield hit. And then, of course, because he's a lefty, you got to have Quintana face Shohei Ohtani. He walks his ass too. And then here comes Jose Budo to give up that back-breaking 2-run double to Mookie Betts. Their pitching, which had been so good for so long. Quintana had the scoreless streak. Budo had a stretch during the season where he was in the circle of trust. Their pitching looks so not on the same level to stop bats like Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani. Not even close. Not even close. So I admit a lot of my first guessing and second guessing, I could have gotten what I wanted. It may not have made a difference because at the end of the day, you need to execute. You need to get people out. And right now they can't. They can't get 27 outs against this lineup without giving up 9 or 10 runs. That's the problem. That's a big part of the problem. Now, if you get big hits when you put guys on base like you had in the third and like you had in the sixth, maybe instead of being down 7-2, you're down 7-4. And maybe things change late in the game because when it's 10-2, the rope is let go of and it's over. So I still put a lot of this on the offense for not taking advantage of all the offensive opportunities they've had, but it just feels impossible to get 27 outs against this lineup. I mean, they eventually get the 27 outs, but they do that after they give up 9 or 10 runs. They have been completely outclassed in these two games at Citi Field. And other than hope, and other than me sitting here, which I'll do right now, live at 1:30 in the morning, citing all the teams that have come back from 3-1 down. Other than that, there is no evidence watching this series that the Mets are coming back from 3-1 down. What you hope for as a Met fan is, hey, and I remember feeling this way in 99, that series against Atlanta. You start off by making a little deal. And that deal is, can you just not have the Dodgers clinch in our building? Can you just find a way to win game 5, send it back to LA, extend the season for 2 more days? Isn't that fun? A couple of extra Ricos, a couple of days of hope, a couple of days of dreaming. But more importantly, for anyone who spent the big money to go to a Met playoff game, you don't have to watch Kiki Hernandez and the LA Dodgers dance all over our field. So I start with that little negotiation. That negotiation is, can we please avoid the misery of the Dodgers dancing on our field, winning the National League pennant? Because the only other time in my life, and I guess the only other time in Met history, now that I think about it, where a team won a pennant at Citi Field or Shea Stadium, not named the Mets, was the St. Louis Cardinals in 2006. 88, when the Dodgers won the series, it was in LA. In 99, when the Braves won that series, it was in Atlanta. 2006 was at Shea Stadium. So let us avoid, that's where I start. Let us avoid the indignity and the disaster of watching the Los Angeles Dodgers, a very disgusting baseball team that nobody roots for, unless you're a Dodger fan, but no baseball fan wants to see this team win. Let us just not have to see them celebrate. By the way, I get in the car after this game. The last thing I want to do is hear the post game or hear Carlos Mendoza. I don't want to hear any of that crap. Yesterday, it's funny. Yesterday on the ride home, my dad and I look at each other and we're like, we got to do something other than baseball. So we're like, all right, we went to news. We went to Brett Baer interviewing Kamala Harris. Today, just to show you the complete diversity, today we listened to the Back to the Future musical. So leaving Citi Field after game 3, hard-hitting interview with Brett Baer, one of my favorite news guys. Then night 2, Back to the Future, the musical. I only bring this up because the New York Mets and Carlos Mendoza announced the decision that I think they should be making, which is David Peterson is going to start game 5 against Jack Flaherty. And I laid this out a few days ago where I said, if you don't use David Peterson, and that's a big if you don't use him in games 3 and 4, then he should start game 5. But if you're using David Peterson out of the bullpen in 3 and 4, and if we're being fair, because of the way these games turned, there wasn't necessarily a lot of lanes or avenues where I would have said I wanted to go to David Peterson. Like, I thought about it in this game, game 4. I thought about it in the 4th inning when Ohtani came up. 4th inning, it's still a relatively close game. It's 3-2. It was right before Mookie Betts got the double. Like, that would have been the moment where I would have considered it. But outside of that, they got their ass kicked. There weren't a lot of opportunities. And I do think, based on the fact that he never warmed up, Mendy clearly in the back of his mind said, I'm going to start David Peterson in game 5. Where does that lead Kodai Senga? Probably nowhere. I know Mendy said earlier he'll pitch in game 5 in some shape or fashion. I don't know how much time he needs necessarily to come into a game. I don't know what situation you're actually going to use him in. This is now an elimination game, which means you're going to go to Edwin Diaz really early. You can't mess around. Like, I'm not kidding you. 5th inning, 1-run game, 2-on, 2-out Mookie Betts is coming up. Yeah, like you can't not use your best pitcher. And there is no time that's too early when your season is on the line. So I do agree with Mendy going with David Peterson. He deserves it. This is going to be his first playoff start. The guy was great this year. When he came back from the hip injury, David Peterson was one of their more consistent starting pitchers. So he gets the nod trying to keep this season alive. And I know this. I know this from being a baseball fan, from even being a basketball fan. Like, when you're down 3-1 in a series, the attitude you have to have, don't let us get hot. Don't let us get one. Because if you get one, things can turn quickly. And just in my lifetime, there's so many of these. I think the Dodgers actually did it to the Braves during the pandemic season of 2020 when they were down 3-1. For the Yankee fans who are watching, you guys remember being on the – now, I'm not talking about Yankees Red Sox because I know that's 3-1, but it was 3-0. I'm talking about when you were in the World Series in 1996 and you were waiting for your opponent. You guys remember that? You're like, hey, we're in the World Series. Who are we playing? The Cardinals led the Braves 3-1, and then the Braves annihilated them 3 games in a row to come back from 3-1 down. I think back to 2007 when the Cleveland, then known as the Cleveland Indians, were up 3-1 on the Boston Red Sox. Same thing. Red Sox destroyed them in coming back from 3-1 down. Red Sox and the Angels in 1986 destroyed them in coming back from 3-1 down. There's a lot of destroying from 3-1 down, like where teams who come back don't just come back, they beat the crap out of teams. Giants did that to the St. Louis Cardinals in 2012 National League Championship Series. They were down 3-1, came back and beat the crap out of them. The Marlins against the Cubs in 2003, they didn't come back and beat the crap out of them. You had a little Steve Bartman game action in there, but they came back, won 6-7 in Chicago to win the National League Championship. There are so many. I'm forgetting all of them. How about, what else? There's a few. Oh, what the hell's wrong with me? The Cubs against the Indians in 2016, the World Series. I'd argue that may be the most famous 3-1 comeback in the history of the World Series. So the point is, it's common. Now, is there any evidence that the Mets are going to be able to do this? Not really. Am I confident they're going to do this? Not really. But at least it's happened before. Can it happen again? You guys want emails, or should we just go to sleep? I got to be honest with you. I got to go to sleep. We're recording this at 1:30 in the morning. That Hoff's like, end it. End the freaking Rico. We will end the Rico, Brogna. I can promise you this. You know, game 5 is such a unique kind of day. It's a 5:00 game on a Friday. I'm going to be on the air at WFN. I'm not bagging out early. I'm going to be on the air till like 7:20 leading up to the Yankee pregame show. So we'll try to do a Rico right after that game ends. I know it's complicated. Pete's going to be doing an overnight Friday into Saturday. I'm trying to, leave after doing a 5.5-hour show, but we will definitely, after game 5, give you an instant reaction, Rico. Hopefully it's not the end of our season. Hopefully we're excited and we're previewing the fact that this series is going back to Los Angeles. But either way, we'll definitely give you a Rico on Friday. And no matter what happens, I'm sure there'll be another one over the weekend. Whether it's getting ready for the pursuit of Juan Soto or it's game 6 of the NLCS. But if you can't tell, I'm a little delirious. I'm a little pissed off. I'm a little worried. And there's also that moment where you know you're about to meet your maker. You kind of know, all right, it's been a fun season. I'm pissed off that we're in this spot that we're in right now, but you almost feel like you're walking through the gates and you're about to meet your maker. Anyhow, we do appreciate you checking this out very late night if you are, or if you downloaded the podcast. Remember, rate and subscribe and download the Rico Brogna wherever you get your podcast. Thank you very much for hanging out on a depressing early morning, late night edition on the brink of elimination. Rico Brogna.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Rico Brogna podcast. It's amazing, isn't it? Make sure you download it now to keep it on you at all times.